Hello, I'm Armand, and this is going to be vlog one for initial reflection and plan. I'll start off by talking about my culture. My dad is 100% Italian. Both of his parents were born and raised in Italy and moved to America. My grandpa worked 3, 4 jobs, had 6 kids. So he was always working. Preached to my dad, you got to work hard for what you want in life. My dad was the first person in his family to go to college. Went to night school at Central while he had an internship and a job. Took him about 4 or 5. It took him about 5, 6 years to finish his bachelor. After that, he got a job, and then his work paid for him to go back to school to get his master's. And ever since I was a kid, he preached to me that I have to work hard to get what I want in life, and that everything doesn't come easy. At the same time, he had a great job. So throughout high school, if I ever had troubles or issues in classes, um, I was able to get the study help and the tutors that I needed. And I could see how that sets me apart from other people, where their family might not have been as well off as mine. And when they were struggling in classes, they kind of just had to figure their own way out. Um, and I could see that as beneficial and also hurtful at the same time. I never like had to figure out how to study first class by myself. If I was struggling, I'd just get a tutor, and they'd basically teach me everything I didn't know and teach me what to do. Whereas now I'm in college and I don't really know how to study. I've never really had to, because if I didn't get something, I'd just go to a tutor. While as the kids that were struggling, I mean, at some point it might be too much of a struggle, but if they didn't have a tutor, they'd had to study and hunker down and figure out how to study themselves. And the kids that actually could figure that out are probably more well off than I am. But the kids that couldn't figure out are at a huge disadvantage to where I was um, in high school. Um, so the person I'll be interviewing, his name is Jack, and he is very culturally different than me in the sense that he went to most of his K through 12 schooling in Canada. And another part that sets us apart is when I was born, the very next day I moved into my house with my family, and we have been living in that house ever since. I have not moved once unless it was to college. Where his dad got a new job every 2 to 3 years and moved around. So he was in Canada for about half his K through 12 education, and then the other half he was either in Arizona, Chicago, Philadelphia. He'd move every 2 to 3 years. Keep in mind that Canadians' education is obviously way different than ours, and state by state in America, it can be different as well. So he had to grow up with most of his friends that he made weren't his long-term friends, and they'd be gone in 2 to 3 years. And the education in each state and country was different. Um, so I believe it's going to be very interesting to talk to him about that and see the very complete opposite ends of the spectrum, where I did not move once and he moved all the time. It was just natural to him. Um, on our next 2 visits, first visit, I want to dive deep into his education in Canada and see the differences or similarities between Canadian education and ours in the U.S. And then the next meeting, I want to talk more about how moving around affected his education and maybe possibly social life, and see how that compares to mine. And we can see some similarities or differences and how our education brought us to the same place at MSU. Um, I think this will definitely take me out of my comfort zone, talking to somebody that has had a completely different growing up life that I have. Growing up in Rochester, most of the kids in my town, it was the same thing. They never really moved around a lot. They've lived there since they were born, stuff like that. So I've never really interacted with somebody that's moved around so much, and I think that would be very interesting to see.